Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be listening. I'm Ash, and this is Indie Insider. My guest this week is Avatari. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ash. Great to be here.
Oh, well, thank you for taking time out of your day to come and chat with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Now, let's start. How did you start your music journey?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say pretty fresh out of the womb. I grew up in a musical family. My dad was a guitarist. He still is, but
Okay.
he'd been playing guitar since he was little and in bands, and then kind of got into the business side of music, putting on rock concerts in the Bay
Wow.
Area. I grew up in the Bay Area. And so when I was like 2 years old, we have pictures of me at Grateful Dead shows and the Rolling Stones, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and then Bruce Springsteen, Prince. I got to go see all these people when I was little, little, little.
Wow.
And it did two things. It was like, for one, it felt like that was normal going
Okay.
to these amazing musical events. And then two, I saw these people doing on stage what I wanted to do. And I was
Right.
in my head, I was like, I want to be up there doing that. So I think that's kind of when it started, if I'm thinking back. And then, but I had a little bit of a windy road from there because um, there were a lot of things that I liked to do growing up, from playing sports to martial arts in school. And so I tried all these different things, and I kind of found my way back a little bit later on to doing it as a full-time, or wanting to do it as a full-time endeavor and career, probably closer to my 20s. And
Right.
yeah.
That sounds very intriguing to me.
Yeah, well, it's like we have this a couple of old videos of me playing Little Richard Tutti Frutti for like a class talent show, or there was another, like, I think it was kindergarten or first grade thing where I did Michael Jackson Thriller.
Oh,
And I
cute.
just I just loved these kind of iconic musician frontmen type people and front women. And I would just try to learn those songs and their performance styles, and I think that's really started to seep in to me, and
Wow.
felt like what I wanted to do.
Oh, that's so sweet. I mean, it makes me sort of think back when you were, well, when you said you were a child and you did Michael Jackson. That would have been so cute.
Oh, I like to think so. I hope so. It was really fun. I mean, I was trying to get all the moves exactly right,
Oh,
and
did you manage to get it all right?
probably not,
Have you
but I
got a
was doing my
video?
best.
Do you have a
Uh,
video of that you've looked back on and you think, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah, it's pretty cute. I mean, I have kids now. I have two boys,
Oh,
and
sweet.
little kids, and it's just, there's nothing cooler to me than a child's innocently doing what they love. And so I
Right.
try to really bring that to what I do, because there's so much thought, as we grow up and become adults, and it's like, I want to kind of brainstorming how to make it perfect. And
Yes.
kids don't really, I mean, I was trying to get the moves right, but on the other hand, I was just kind of living in my joy, doing what I loved. And I try to really bring that. And having kids also is a way for me to relearn that, is just come from that childlike, innocent place of play.
Oh, that's sweet. Do you see your children being the way you were when you were a child?
Um, yeah, yes and no. I think on one hand, I'll see things and I'll say, "Oh, that's that's like little me," and then other things, they're very much just themselves. And
Right.
when you have multiple kids, you kind of see, oh, they each have their unique personality. I mean,
Yes.
there's some things that are just kind of innate in children, and then some things that are in, kind of feel like, in my family line, but a lot is very unique to per person. So it's
That's
all of
true.
it.
That's very
Yeah.
true. And tell us, how do you keep your technical skills sharp?
Oh boy. Well, I think when you talk about technical skills today, there's so many different skills as artists because I mean, on one side there's the whole art form, and within that there's the umbrella of artist, but there's the recording studio, there's writing songs,
Right.
there's the vocal, there's performance, um, and then within performance there's so many different parts of that, from movement on stage and stagecraft to
Right.
theatricality, and but then there's also the whole side of I mean, depending on where you are in your artist career and what sort of role you have in your own business, it could be everything from, being a CEO of a small business or a growing
Right.
business to, marketing and PR, all that stuff. So at the moment, I do have a growing team, but I still am responsible for a lot of all of it, as
Okay.
I think most artists are nowadays, which is great on one hand, but it's also a lot of work. But I guess the original question was about technical skill. So I'll just keep it to kind of more the creative part of it. And so I would say, I mean, on one hand, I try to stay really in action with growing as a vocalist.
Right.
And so I'm always on one hand practicing, and I have kind of a daily routine that I do, but I also take lessons. I continue to, I don't always take lessons, but I try to always have a teacher, and stay growing as a vocalist.
Right.
Try to try to do my vocal exercises at least a few times a week, and certainly before I sing. And then also as a songwriter, which is a whole separate thing, I think the main way I kind of keep that sharp is through one, continuously doing it. So I'm
Right.
always writing songs, and I'm always working on at least one or two or three or four songs. It's also, I think, as a creator, I just love writing songs. So I always have all these ideas, and I try to keep them moving towards completion. And then also, I like to collaborate. And I think that's one of the
Okay.
most powerful tools is to just always be collaborating with other songwriters. And so it's always a way of adding new tools to my toolkit.
Okay.
Because every songwriter that I work with, I learn something from. Some more than others, but regardless, I always learn something because
Right.
everybody has their own way of doing it, and usually everyone has a strength or a weakness, and then I will complement that. Or so I think that's like the best way to keep growing as a songwriter.
That's
As a
interesting.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, and I didn't learn that until just a few years ago because I was a very isolated songwriter for a long time. I just wrote by myself.
Right.
When I opened that up, that's when I started to really grow, I think.
Oh, geez. I'm actually so fascinated. I mean, that you make time to write songs for other people, you write songs for yourself. It must be so sort of rewarding.
It is. It's like I love the opportunity to have this blank canvas and then a seed of an idea, kind of like planting a seed, and then it just grows. And then when you add another person's creativity in it, and I mean, songwriting is not the only way where creative collaboration happens.
Right.
There's so many others that are really fun too. Like, um, just for instance, whenever I make a music video, it's really fun collaborating with the director and on the idea and the whole vision. But with songwriting, it's a really pure thing, I think. And and sometimes it goes really well, and then other times the collaborations are clunky. It just happens sometimes, and um, but when it works really well, it always turns out, or usually turns out to be greater than the sum of the parts, where
Right.
two people's kind of way of doing it combines into this whole other thing that's greater than what I could have imagined by myself.
I can imagine. Have you ever sort of written a song for somebody and then found, oh, this song I could do with myself?
Hmm. Well, you know what? It's funny because I wrote a song, and I wasn't actually sure who it was going to be for, but I
Right.
didn't think it was necessarily going to be for me. I
Okay.
wrote I wrote a holiday song, and it was the first time I'd ever written a holiday song, and it was kind of through a challenge, but I did it as a co-write. with a good friend of mine and a producer that I work with named Will Carpenter. Great guy, amazing artist. He has his own band, Ships Have Sailed, which is
Right.
really cool. And we set out to write this holiday song, but and I wasn't sure if it was necessarily going to be a song for me.
Okay.
But it became so personal that I kind of at the end of it, I was like, I think I just have to do this. Make mine, and we, we both agreed, and it turned out to be one of my favorite song writing and also song recording experiences, and like one of my favorite releases that I've ever
Yes.
done.
So it turned out really well in the end.
Yeah, I think so. Was really happy with it. It's the whole journey of creating it was one of my favorite because it started off with me basically someone pitched the idea of me writing a holiday song, and I kind of scoffed. I was like, no, a holiday song. I mean, and it's not because I don't like holiday music. I actually love holiday music. I always grew up in the holidays listening to it. But I didn't really see how it would work within my world and my genre. And but I gave the idea a chance, and then this thought came to me, just write your holiday song. It doesn't have to be a typical holiday song. And so what came out was something that was a lot more personal and also kind of the other side of the holidays, where
Right.
it was the almost like that movie It's a Wonderful Life, where
Yes.
the main character he goes through this journey where he gets really down and out and almost to the point of wanting to kill himself because of how miserable he is. Well, I guess he does get to that point. I think he jumps off the bridge. And so this is a similar kind of retelling of that, where it's about a down and out guy who's separated from his family, but really separated from himself somewhere. And then the whole song is about wanting to get back home for the holidays and sort of celebrating that. I know the holidays are over now, so until January 2nd, but because it was the last song that I released, it's still very in the front of my mind.
Okay. And would you tell us, would you, if you had a project where you had to learn a new skill, would you
Mm.
be able to challenge yourself to do it? Or just think next time?
Oh, I think I understand the question, and I think I love the question, but I want to make sure. So you said if I had a project which would make me learn a brand new skill that I had no idea
Yes.
how to do, would I do it, or would I
Yes.
shelf it and say I'll get to that at some point?
That's right.
Oh, that's a really good question. Honestly, I think that there's nothing cooler than jumping into learning something new. So I would love to think that I would embrace that. The thing that makes me think that I would is, along with being a musician, I'm also an actor, and that's
Okay.
part of my journey. I live in Los Angeles, and I moved out here because of entertainment, and I wanted to do both music and acting. And really, I love where they both kind of come together in the combination of music and acting and cinema. So anyway, for acting, a lot of times I'll be playing a role, and there will be something about the role that is brand new to me, that's not something that I personally know. And it might even be a technical skill, like riding a horse or sword fighting.
Yes.
And whenever that happens, it's like, oh, I get the opportunity to learn how to do this whole. It's actually one of the reasons I love the idea of acting and also of music, is I get to explore these worlds in one lifetime. I kind of get to have all these different lives,
Right. That sounds
and
exciting.
it's so exciting and fun. And but I don't think you necessarily have to be an actor or a musician to do all these things. And some of my best friends and the people that I love to kind of learn from are kind of embrace this idea of, I'm gonna really try to learn. I'm not gonna let me not knowing how to do something keep me from that experience. So anyway, I'm gonna say yes, I would do it.
You do it with a
I would
smile
do
on your
it.
face.
Maybe a smile or maybe a grimace, but
Yeah.
I would do it anyways.
And could you tell us, how do you approach working under tight deadlines?
Well, I think deadlines are really powerful. So, um, I used to be scared of deadlines, and now I love them. And so, one, I think embrace the idea of having deadlines. And then usually what I do is a very kind of technical thing where if I have a deadline, let's say it's at the end of a month, I acknowledge it, and then in my calendar, I make these mini deadlines
Right,
working backwards. So let's say, obviously, if I have to do this thing, let's say it's write and release a song within a month, then I know that certain things have to happen at certain points before
right,
then. Like, I'll know that, well, the song, if I'm going to write and release and record a song, then the song I'll kind of work backwards. So to release the song, I have to like schedule the release and distribution, and it can be no later than, let's say, 2 weeks out. So I'll know 2 weeks, the song needs to be written, and recorded and fully mixed and mastered.
wow,
So then I'll say, okay, well, for that to happen, I really, for the mix and master to happen, I'll need at least a week there. So I need to, write and record the song in a week. So that's just an example, and I've never done that in a month. I usually take more like 3 months, but if I did have a month to do it, I know that I could do it because it would just be simply this is what has to happen by each point.
sure,
So,
sure. So you give yourself a
and then I just hold
schedule.
myself accountable. I have those kind of dates in a calendar. Give myself a schedule, and it's really clear. It's in the calendar. It's not just an idea in my head like, oh, I should probably get this done by such and such. It's very much in the calendar. I always have a sit down session where I map it all out, and it helps to have an accountability partner. And usually if there's a project that I'm doing, there's one built in, like in this case, it would be a producer working with me, or maybe my manager. But I have done it where it's just me holding myself accountable. I do recommend always having someone that I'm accountable with, maybe a good
Right.
friend or someone that I'm in partnership with. That's the other kind of helpful tool.
Wow, I find, every time when you've described your experience and your schedule and what have you, I think, how do you do it, with the young kids and you've got a family, and how do you, make time to do your music and acting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the more there's that thing that I've heard before that I like to hope is true is like if you want something done and done quickly, who do you give it to? And usually it's the person that is doing a lot of things. So I think if I have more on my plate, I'm kind of forced to really work on how efficient I'm being with my time management, my my tools and what I'm committing to and all of that. The ability to prioritize, I think
Right.
is really important because I'll kind of and I just got through doing my planning for the year, and I like to do that where I kind of think about the whole year and everything I want to get done, and I put it all, and then I kind of prioritize it in different categories because there are things that I want to do this year that I want to do now or that need to be done now or this month or in the next 3 months, and then there's things that will probably get done in 6 months and 9 months, but
Okay.
I think knowing how to prioritize, knowing how to manage time, and one thing I've been guilty of as someone that wants to accomplish a lot of things is I have these like old, lists from different years where I kind of put everything I wanted to do for my entire life on there
Right.
and said, I'm doing that this year. And it just ultimately it wasn't realistic, and it kind of set me up a little bit for failure. And so at some point, I realized I need to really zoom out even bigger and say, um, like create my 10-year goals and even,
Right.
beyond. So I know that I don't have to do it all in a year. I can do it in 10 years. And so, but really, it's good to be able to zoom out and look at everything I want to do. As far as what I know now, it doesn't mean I can't over time add more
Of
things to it.
course.
It kind of evolves, but I think goal setting is really important. I try to do it every day, every week, every month, every 3 months, and every year at least. And then I'm always kind of checking in on, where am I? And sorry, I'm going to shift gears now because I just remembered something that was one of my biggest revelations last
Sure.
year. I was with a friend who's really a great guy and also very successful, and successful as a human because he's just full of joy and love, and but he also accomplishes a lot of things. And he shared with me about his goal setting, and he talked about how he shifted the way that he looks at even the word that he uses for goals to visions. And
Right.
I think with the idea of a goal, a lot of times if I have a goal, it's something I'm shooting for that's far out and that I have not reached yet. So I'm almost telling myself I'm not there yet when I talk about a goal.
Right.
On one hand, you need it because you need kind of a dartboard to be able to hit anything. But on the other hand, I'm like, if I'm shooting for something that's outside of myself, I'm telling myself I'm not there yet. And so he used the word vision. And that was really powerful for me because I realized these goals that I have come from some place inside of me that already sees it, and that already it's almost happening inside of me already.
Right.
So I'm just kind of, I don't know if I'm going off on a tangent,
No,
but
no, not at all.
that was one of the biggest things I'm carrying with me this year is is feeling like these things are visions. And the only thing is, when are they happening? You know, I can't always control that, but I can sort of control what I'm working on at any point of time, and making sure that it's the thing that's absolutely most important to me.
That's the main thing. If you stick to your goals, you stick with what you want to do, you tick each thing off as you do them or when you're about to do them. And I suppose it's much easier that way.
I think it's really an important process towards being, for me personally, being feeling calm and happy and like I'm moving towards, I don't know if you want to say destiny or just my higher self. And I think process is really important. I think process is probably the most important thing. It's even more important than the resolution of these things is what is my process each day and the rhythm that I'm in. And especially as someone, and I think a lot of artists are like this, but I think a lot of people nowadays, we have these different parts of our lives and endeavors, and on one hand they're separate, but they're also kind of
Sure,
holistically, and like I look at my family, I look at my creativity and my art, I look at my business, I look at my health, I look at all these things and just think about, what are the things. I mean, and I think essentially it's like what are the things that I'm working on that are going to make me the most happy and also me bring the most value
sure.
to the people and uh you know people and places and things that are around me.
Oh, that's great. I'm afraid we're running out of time, but before we go, if you could just tell everybody where they can follow you or get hold of your merchandise, your music.
Yeah, great question. So Um, for one, my name is Avatari, and that's like the word avatar with an I at the end, and that's because my music is a lot about if you know what like the word avatar is, it's really about kind of your higher self or like your kind of deity on earth, and I believe that we all have that. And so
Exactly.
um, anyway, it's like a lot of it is about that sort of experience of moving towards whatever inspires you. And so I'm Avatari. You can find me on all social media. My my handle is at Avatari World, so just the word Avatari World next to it. On Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, on YouTube, you can look for me, youtube.com/ at Avatari. And that's what I recommend you check out because one of my favorite things to do is create music videos, and I have a couple on there that are pretty epic, I think. So I'd love for you to check those out. So follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I have music coming out every month. And so if you follow me on Spotify, so look up Avatari, and also you can look up one of my releases. So if you type in Avatari and then let's say the word faith, you'll find my song Faith up there, but you can also just follow me on YouTube. And I think that's probably the best bet is check out my socials and follow me that way.
Fantastic. Well, Avatari, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and talk to us. I'm going to go check out your music videos right now.
Yeah, please do. Leave a comment and let me know what you think.
I will do. And you have a great day.
Ash, this has been great. I really love this interview and it was great talking to
I
you.
enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and you take care.
Okay, you too.
Thank you, then.
All right, Happy New Year.
You too.